took a lot of notes while learning from Vince McMahon. You've talked about. Like, are you surprised by the allegations? What do you think about his retirement?
First thing I should say is no comment.
Okay.
Second thing I should say about stuff and just Vince in general, and maybe it's more about love. If you love somebody, is that people make mistakes and you love them regardless. You know. So.
Thank you.
If you could go back in time and wrestle somebody 50, 60, 70 days, how big would it be?
Oh God! I mean, there's too many people. But I mean, like, I would have loved to have wrestled Ric Flair. Obviously, I would have loved to have wrestled Ricky Steamboat. You know, I would have loved to have wrestled Macho Man. Like, you know, those are kind of the guys that I really looked up to. I actually would have loved to have wrestled the Ultimate Warrior. As crazy as that sounds, it would have just been fun. But yeah.
I have a wacky Vince question for you, if that's okay.
Yep.
So we did a interview with Chris Jericho in the UK, and he was talking about Vince having these eccentric views, and he said that Vince found it very strange that you were a vegan. Do you have any memories of you and Vince having a chat about veganism?
So it's interesting because I remember Chris telling me when I first had that NXT match with Chris, he came to the back, he says, "Hey, you got something with this kid." He's like, "Ugh, he doesn't even eat meat," right? But then, you know, the conversations I've had with him in the last several years, he's said, you know, there's something to that for health, for longevity, and for that sort of thing. And I don't think that he's a believer that you should eat entirely vegan, but I think he believes now that there are a lot of health benefits to doing it, and especially if you're doing it purposefully on, say, specific days or whatever, you know. So,
Brian,
Brian, I sit in on William Regal's podcast, and he was talking about the importance of like newer wrestlers and modern wrestlers trying to pay more attention to like asking questions and things like that going around. And he brought, like, on your panel, you brought up cell phones and things like that. Do you think how much more can a lot of modern talent nowadays kind of like, if they put down the phones, would they learn? And have they been asking a lot of questions backstage to some of the legacy talent?
So I think the phone thing isn't necessarily affecting the way they're learning pro wrestling, in the sense of, because I think a lot of the younger talent are asking really good questions and stuff. Like, they come to me a lot and say, like, what do you think of my match, and that sort of thing. The phone thing is more about, I think, will help you enjoy your life more, right? If you put down the phone more. But yeah, I think it's always good to ask good questions, regardless of. And I try to do that with the younger talent, asking them questions, because I think that's equally important. I'm 41. I've been watching wrestling since the 80s. I have a view on wrestling, but the world has changed, right? You can't. So, because I remember when I went to WWE. And even before that, there would be some really old-time wrestlers like, back in my day, kid, I used to just grab an arm and I'd hold it for 20 minutes and the place would be going crazy, implying that that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't work, right? There are probably some things that I think about wrestling that are no longer true about what wrestling fans want from wrestling. And I could only understand that by talking to a Lee Moriarty or a Dante Martin and saying, like, hey, what is it about wrestling that you guys love? Because when I grew up watching wrestling, it wasn't that people thought it was real, but they reacted to it more like it was real. Whereas this generation has an entirely different view on it, where it's like the whole audience is in on the gig.
Yeah.
They all know it's not real. Can you convince them that some things are real, or can they get into things? Yes, they can. But what is it that they love about wrestling? So I think as important as it is for them to ask questions of veterans, it's also important for somebody like me to ask questions of them to see what resonates with the younger audience.
Hey Brian, so you once mentioned on a Total Divas episode with Karen, you said it's all about that chingle. Who are your favorite artists right now?
So I don't remember ever saying that. I assume. So you have to understand, they are filming you so much, and they want you to talk about the same thing over and over again. So you end up saying things that you would have never said otherwise, because it's just like, oh God, we're still talking about this thing. And so yeah, So, anyways, I really like Frank Turner. There's a lot of. I really like Brandi Carlile. So, from a hip hop perspective, like Billy Woods just put out a new album that is unbelievable. A woman put out an album last year that I love. Lil Sims is her name. Lil Sims. It's all like I'm always listening to new music because I like to. I don't know. I like new forms of thought and whatever it is, and so there's a bunch of hooray for the riff raff. Was that an album or was that an artist? I forget. I love that one. Yeah. So those are some of my favorite ones in the last little bit.
Brian, I just want to quick question. There's a lot of wrestling biopics that are supposedly in the work with like Chris Hemsworth playing Hulk Hogan or Bradley Cooper playing Vince McMahon. So if Bryan Danielson ever appears in one of these movies as a character, who would you want to play you?
Jim Henson. Can we get him? Can somebody get Jim Henson
Put him down.
to play?
Yeah, let's get a Ouija board and just,
yeah.
Two more guys.
Yeah.
Brian,
Whoever.
you didn't get to wrestle Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door, so would you hope to meet him later down the road, or who else would you like to wrestle from New Japan?
Yeah, so I'd love to wrestle Zach. I'd love to wrestle. So Tanahashi and I wrestled in 2004 when we were both a lot younger and different points in our career. I'd love to wrestle him. Obviously Okada. I wrestled Shingo in 2010, but I think that would be a completely different match now. Ishii, New Japan has so many great people. Will Ospreay, Jay White. I mean, there's too many people to even name.
Last one, guys.
I'll end this on a fun note. You respectfully said you were leaving less VIP behind in WWE. Have you thought about maybe dipping back into your comedic side? Obviously, you have a great sense of humor. Coming up with another catchphrase for AEW.
So it's interesting. One of the things that I've tried to avoid is doing any sort of catchphrase, and the reason why is just it came to become a crutch, and when people expect something of you that you need to give that to them, that almost feels like it pins me down more than it helps me. One of the people I really respect from an artist perspective is Bob Dylan. So if you go to I'm trying to think, like an Aerosmith concert, you're going to want to see the hits, right? When you buy a ticket to a Bob Dylan concert, you might want him to play certain songs, but going in, he's going to play whatever the fuck he wants. And that's kind of what I want my wrestling career to be now. I want people, maybe I hope that he does this, but they're going to be happy with kind of whatever, just me being creative and doing what I love to do.
Just to quickly follow up on that, in 2013 when they tried to get Big Show the Yes chant, how did you feel about that? Like, do you find it funny that they were trying to transfer that chant? Did it bother you?
It didn't bother me at all. I'm used to the idea of okay, I've gotten something over, somebody else either takes it or does something, whatever. I'm fine with it because all it does is make me come up with other stuff, and that's what's fun about wrestling, is coming up with new stuff. So,
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Brian.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Yep.